The title of my story is Angry Old Men at the Water's Edge. This story is a knockoff on John Steinbeck's The Red Pony, The Last Chapter. This is the chapter where the grandfather talks to the grandson. The grandfather and his son have been fighting. And so it is a conversation that the grandfather has with the grandson. Now that's the idea of it. So I have several versions of this story, and part of it is based upon my father. But it's what do you do, how do you talk to your grandson when things aren't going well? Oh, Jody, I don't know why we fight. We just fight. I can't really explain it. We get in an argument and it just starts going, and I seem to not be able to stop it. You know, I hate to admit it, but I sometimes think it's about what I did with his mother. You know, I abandoned him. I abandoned my son. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I didn't know how to say I can't be a father. I'm not a good father. I'm just not. I never was. I didn't really want to be. I guess, I don't know. Until I had you. Jody. You know, I guess when I came, I always wanted to see you, and I wanted to see you, and you made me so happy because you wanted to hear my stories. And you just always asked me to tell a story about when you did this, and when you came on the train, and what about your great-grandfather, and when they moved in a covered wagon. And I would love, though, to hear those stories. You say we loved the stories. But my son said, I'm tired of those stories. I am tired of those stories. You repeat the same story. You get confused and you don't remember what story is going on. He was right. I really sometimes tangled it all up. But it hurts, I guess. You know, there's a story about California. I'm going with a story. I'm going on with my nice stories. Why do people move to California? I think most of the people that moved to California came here because they were running away. They wanted to run away. There was something somewhere else. They just didn't want to be there. I mean, I think about my ancestors. You know, my great-great-great-grandfather, I don't know what great that is for you, Jody, a long time ago, he was a doctor in New York, and he had a fantasy of getting out of the city. You know, this was back before there were cars. He wanted to come somewhere to have a farm, because he just thought a farm would be easy. So he moved to Indiana. You know, he might have been a doctor, but he was pretty dumb to think you could just go into farming and not know anything about it. So it wasn't working very well, and then they heard about homesteading. There was all this free land, and so he decided to move to Kansas. What he didn't know was some of that homesteading stuff was a way to drive the Indians out of the state. Move in, railroads, you know, tear up the prairie so the buffalo wouldn't be able to eat. They'd move. And I guess that's what happened. I think it happened. I think that's what he would have thought about. You know, I get tangled up. I don't remember somehow. You know, I think he felt guilty because maybe he did know that one of the reasons they were given this free land was to drive them away. You know, the homesteading, they gave free land to lots of black people at the end of the Civil War, thinking that it would be, saying to them it would be so easy for them to have a farm in Kansas. Assuming that Kansas was going to welcome all the black people. You know, slavery was one thing, but it didn't mean that people that were there were going to want those black people. And there was so much prejudice. And a lot of them left. And there were lynchings. But they never talked about that kind of stuff. But I find that it's hard to have history and lie all the time. It just is. It's the big lie will bite you in the ass. Sometime or another, it bites people in the ass. Oh, I'm getting all off the actually. I didn't. Well, I'm one of those that ran away and came to California, and I ran away again. You know, I swear, one of the things that's happened now, what I see, the ocean. There's the ocean. And there's a lot of old men standing on the beach, cursing it because the water stopped them. They couldn't run any further. You know, they say around Monterey, there's kind of an echo of those old men's curses. I don't believe that kind of crap, but anyway, Jody, everybody can feel pain and feel happiness. And sometimes when you're running away, what I guess should have been different is that there would be something that didn't matter, that you'd have, whether you were here or over there or somewhere else. It was those kinds of things that I think were best, and I guess that's kind of why I wanted to. I realized how much pain I had. I didn't want you to have to feel that. I wanted you to have some hope. Oh, God, that fight today was so awful. I'm exhausted. I gotta stop. You know, Jody, I need to take a nap.